Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of The Blind Beat. It's AZ. I got a chance to interview one of my good friends, Ricky Ruzicka. He is originally from Baltimore. He is currently a student in Cincinnati, finishing up his degree in social work. And I met him when he moved down here to San Antonio. The first time I encountered Ricky was when he called the Lighthouse looking for information about adapted sports. He was actually just looking for beat baseball. At the time, we didn't have a team, but we did have a go ball team, and he came out and joined that. A while later, he did come into the Lighthouse for training on JAWS, so I got to work with him there. So without further ado, let's listen to the interview with Ricky Ruzicka. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in to The Blind Beat. I'm here with one of my good friends, Ricky Ruzicka, and he's going to talk to us about his eye condition and just his story in general. I'd like to welcome Ricky Ruzicka to the show. Thanks a lot, brother, for doing the Blind Beat. How you doing?
I'm doing well, AZ. Appreciate it, brother, and looking forward to this interview, and it's an honor to be on this podcast, man. I definitely enjoyed the first podcast that I listened to, and this is a great platform. So,
tell us a little bit about your eye condition, and what was the process that it took you through.
I was diagnosed in 2013 at the age of 23 with a mitochondrial cell disease called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, but we often just refer to it as LHON. LHON, and as strange as it may sound to some people, it was just as strange to me at that age because I had never been really exposed to any type of visual impairment or blindness in my entire life. And here we are in March of 2013 is actually when I first can think of the first experience of losing some of the vision. In retrospect, thinking about it, I was outside of my trade school in March of 2013. I was attending trade school for plumbing, and I was playing catch with one of my buddies. We would often play catch with either football or baseball, like in the parking lot, just to pass time until we had to walk up to the building. And one of my friends threw the baseball at me, and I had the glove on and everything, and I just lost track of the ball, and it hit me right in the forehead, and I was just like, wow, like, I don't know, whatever. All right, I'm done. Just kind of put it down, didn't even think about it, and
Right.
I put that off, and I started noticing other things, like I couldn't see the TV as well, or just like kind of minor things in the beginning, and I was just like, oh, I should probably go see a doctor. And I ended up putting it off for a long time, actually about 4.5 months, all the way until the end of July, going into August is when I first started seeking the care from an optometrist. I went right in to see an optometrist and covered up my left eye, and I was able to read a little bit with my right eye. I had needed corrective lenses at the time anyway, and I was able to read a few lines, and then I covered up the right eye. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't see the big E or anything. It was
Right.
the first time, through that time that I took the time to close one eye or, notice the difference. I just kind of thought it was binocular,
Right.
It was just both eyes.
Until this point, you hadn't met anybody who's blind or had any exposure to blindness in any way?
My only exposure to blindness was just through the Maryland School for the Blind, actually.
Uh-huh.
I played Little League baseball right behind it. There was the Little League field growing up right there, and then there was like woods, and then there was a fence for the Maryland School for the Blind, and that was really it. I've never met anyone.
So as whenever you covered up your right eye and you saw this going on the left eye, did they say right away what it was, or did it take a while? Was there extra tests that needed to happen, or?
Yeah. There was definitely it was a pretty dragged out process and several tests. They really had no clue initially. I started out by just kind of giving some family, history, well, elaborating more on the family history, and he was asking about multiple sclerosis, which my mother actually had.
That's related to this?
No, it's not. It turns out
Okay.
it's not. But that's what they were thinking, because sometimes MS can be related to vision loss.
Wow.
And I'm not even really sure how he actually, sort of formulated that initial analysis. And from the optometrist, I went on to see a ophthalmologist, and got some more imaging done, and they took more looks into the deeper parts of my parts of my eye, and
right.
They were just continuing to look at it, and they noticed that my optic nerve was inflamed and not a healthy color. From there, they thought that it was optic neuritis, and I took that and kind of went to the next hospital, which was at the Johns Hopkins Wilmer Eye Institute, and I was actually an inpatient there for 5 days. I was on IV steroids for 5 days. They were trying to get the swelling down, because they thought it was optic neuritis. And within that same time period, I got a few MRIs done and a spinal tap. They took some spinal fluid from the spine. That was definitely the most interesting experience like medically I've ever gone through. You're in this fetal position, and they just send this needle into your spine, and it's obviously a very sensitive part of your body, and anything could kind of go wrong if they hit the wrong part. But,
right.
After that, they continue to come in and get updates, as the IVs were going through, and eventually, after just some blood work, they took. I left the hospital after the fifth day of the IV steroids and went home. And actually, the ophthalmologist called me, and he told me my diagnosis over the phone. Because they said they needed to wait for the results. And he's like, after looking at your blood work, it turns out that you have this disease called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. It's like, the heck is that?
Yeah.
And that they, he explained to me the best that, to the best of his knowledge, because it's really only been researched since like 1999, I believe. So it's fairly new, and pretty rare, and that's kind of why I took that process. And long story short, I was diagnosed September 3rd of that 2013. So about a month of different types of doctors visited.
After the when they had you there for those 5 days, did you notice any vision change? Like, did it affect that in any way, or it didn't?
No, it didn't seem like it, honestly.
Okay.
I didn't really I don't recall any vision improvements at that point, but it still just remained in the left eye initially, and then actually in December of 2013, it may have been November, but I'm gonna say like early December is when I actually noticed that it progressed to the other eye. Now it's central vision loss in both the left and the right eye with peripheral vision. It's the way I best describe it to people is it's completely like blurred or lack of vision centrally and all the way around, except for in my right eye I have if I describe it like a clock, I have vision from about the 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in my right eye, and then in my left eye I have vision from like 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So just those kind of moon crescent like descriptions. It's obviously hard to describe to people, but
right. So it started in the left, went to the right. Did you feel like it advanced pretty fast, or was it a slow process?
Interestingly enough, I continued to stay in the trade, in the plumbing work field, and I just continued to notice different things, such as not being able to read the tape measure anymore, or getting extremely close to a flame while I'm trying to solder copper pipe, or just tripping in different holes. If it was like a groundwork job, we had the surface isn't exactly graded out, and I would just fall or catch myself doing anything like that as it progressed. And then I was fortunate enough to continue to work there through, and in April that 2014 is actually when I had a call to quit, I guess. I went in and had a conversation with my boss and the actual owner of the company. And
Right. Did you let them know
so,
that you were losing your sight, or did you not
yeah,
notify them?
so I did actually, and I'm forever grateful to the job foreman that allowed me to continue to stay there, and I was
Try.
able to utilize. Well, yeah, to try, and also and more importantly, just utilize the insurance through the company and continue to get income, and those sort of the financial
Right.
burdens that I didn't have to go through, and then everybody else kind of understood. And so I guess like a quick rundown, like for trade school, you start out in your first year of school and you move through basically through 4 years of trade school, and as you progress, obviously your work skills are supposed to progress. So first year you kind of you may start out by just handing various tools to your mechanic, they call it, or
right.
Helping clean up more, and obviously the cleaning up and handing the tools still goes as you go, but you gain more independence. You start to work your own pipe on the different fixtures and such. And I was fortunate enough that they kind of just let me revert back to being a first year, and I just was being a helper, but getting paid more than what a helper or first year apprentice would. And
right.
I'm just so grateful for that. And it was definitely a transition, but
right.
After a while, I knew I couldn't continue to do it forever at that point, and
right.
had to end up calling it quits for safety, for sure.
So when you call it quits, you said around April. What was your next step after that?
The next step was figuring out kind of what's next, and that was kind of like open-ended. At the time, didn't really know what to do. Still kind of going through the psychological and the emotional phases of it. The most challenging part was acceptance and coming to grips that I had to find a new career and different services for help. And I continue to go to see a low vision doctor and continue to receive advice from my neuro-ophthalmologist. With all that, he kind of just geared me towards they both geared me towards services in Baltimore, Maryland, where I was living at the time. I called around and kind of just started out with meeting with my the rehabilitation counselor in Baltimore, and kind of going through a plan of what I wanted to do. And from there he started putting the plan into action, through technology services and learning the independent skills for travel with the cane, and even suggested some counseling through a group that they had going on there, which was definitely helpful in the beginning. Also, just continuing to internally recognize and develop a plan myself. I mean, I was so unsure, and at the time, Amy, my wife, she was actually attending optometry school in San Antonio, and so I was like, well, am I going to stay here? Am I going to go to the BISM, the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland? It's similar to the school in Austin. Chris Cole, yeah. I decided to just follow Amy to San Antonio. So the Maryland services, they lasted for close to a year, and some of the services that I received was getting some technology training and receiving some of the devices, such as the mini CCTV handheld magnifier.
You talking about acceptance. What was the most difficult one to come to terms with?
I mean, it's difficult to pinpoint one, but I mean, just not being able to drive anymore was initially a big challenge, because I viewed it as I guess a right at that point, but
yeah,
now I understand it's a privilege. And I in the beginning, like living in Maryland, actually during the September through April, excuse me, when I was, when I left the employment, I was, using the mobility bus, they call it up there, and I was having to take that from my house to one of my good friend's house, and then I would carpool with him to work, and so not being able to like drive myself to work, and then carpooling with another friend, and just losing that privilege, was definitely challenging initially, and then also just like accepting the fact that looking at a piece of paper with standard size text on it, you look at it and you just can't see it. It's not being able to recognize faces, and understanding that now I would have to be able to recognize people through the sound of their voice.
Right.
And then using the cane, kind of just having the confidence to use it in public. I had a hard enough time just wearing my glasses when I was able to wear glasses for corrective lenses. As wild as that sounds, but
right.
now I'm carrying around now I carry around a cane in public, and now I think about it and it means nothing, but
No, yeah, no, I understand.
Then it was like so it's just like a combination of all of that. I mean, it's just going from the vision that I was able to use to be able to do things that that people can do with good visual acuity, and then to not be able to do that, just I guess the 180.
Yeah.
Got to do things differently.
Yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 2, so I never had the opportunity to drive. When was the moment when it was like, okay, this is the way that it's gonna be now, where you came to the acceptance of it's gonna be my cane with me every day? I think we all come to that point differently, and at different times, and I'll tell you, for me, it was just I started using it when I was every day when I was 14. Before, my teachers would be like, you gotta use this, and after a while, like, it was just because I was 14 and I didn't care if they looked at me weird or if I was different. I just wanted to you know how you have 5 minutes to get from class to class back in junior high and high school? I wanted to be able to do that because they were releasing me early, and so it's something crazy. Like, it doesn't make, like, how would that do it? You know what I mean? Like, oh no, it's keeping you safe, it's doing it. No, it's because I wanted to hang out with everybody. But it served its purpose though, because now I don't leave home without my cane, and it keeps me safe, and I'm able to get to where I need to go. So what do you think was your moment whenever you were like, hey, I'm using my cane every day? You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if I can't drive, I'm gonna take the bus over here, or
I never thought of it, and I definitely appreciate the question. I mean, thinking about it, probably not until I got to San Antonio, because I was still, I wasn't walking around with the cane, and in Baltimore. I mean, I got some of the mobility training, but after the limited training that I received, I kind of just kept the cane in the house because I was pretty familiar with the
area,
the grounds,
Yeah.
in the area, and then I would just kind of use others as help. I would just stay close to them or something like that. Yeah, I'd never used it in Maryland, and then when I got to San Antonio, it's just I guess like just a new environment. As soon as I got down there, that's when things really started. The ball started really rolling for me. I went in and had a new rehabilitation counselor, and just really knew my goal and kind of gained a good acceptance. And when I got there and understood that the cane is a tool and of use for my safety when I'm traveling, and and it's also an identifier, because for me, if I am familiar with something or with an area, or if I'm close to Amy or someone else that I'm traveling with, I don't quote unquote need it, but I've run into issues such as walking into the wrong area, or walking in a restaurant or something, walking towards the kitchen instead of going towards the bathroom, and then without my cane, they're like, what the heck are you doing? Versus when I have it, people come, people are often asking, hey, do you need help, or can I help you find something? And it just kind of it saves a
explanation. Yeah. And totally does.
Eventually continuing with my services and being exposed into the I guess culture. I'm not really sure, the community. I'm not really sure how to just other individuals who are experiencing vision loss.
Right.
It just helped me, it I guess normalized it. I hate using the word normal, but it helped me accept it easier.
Right. And see, that's kind of a difficult thing to, because who do you talk to whenever you're going through this, whenever your sight is going away, whenever things are changing, that you used to be able to accomplish a certain thing a certain way? Like, sometimes maybe the eye condition, maybe somebody else in your family had it, maybe you have that, maybe you're a student and a teacher notices, so you have, they'll hook you up with somebody else and you can talk about it, or you can see how somebody else does something. But whenever you're by yourself, you do need the culture, I think, that to because anybody and a doctor can tell you, and family, they can tell you that it's gonna be okay, and because everybody means well, and it probably is gonna be okay. As an individual going through it, like, it's not till you see somebody else that you can relate with that you're like, yeah, you know what, it's gonna be all right, But when like you were saying, the culture, I think it helps out a lot. I think that different organizations like the NFB, the ACB, they do have a place in helping the rehabilitation part of it, and just getting to know other blind people that are maybe going through the same thing or have before.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's extremely necessary for the process and just the continued journey and through life. My friends that I've had throughout life and I continue to meet, that are sighted, that have vision, they don't understand the same way that you or Zach or Axel or Guillermo or anybody that I meet or have met understands the same way. It's a unique situation, and every situation is different. And I've learned so much through this, and one of that is definitely surround yourself with. I mean, I'm definitely all about diversity, but knowing individuals in this culture of individuals who are experiencing vision loss is important. I mean, it's hard to describe life without usable vision until you're actually going through it. I mean, obviously through different you can put a blindfold on someone and have them experience blindness to a certain degree, but it's not their everyday life.
Right. You're still going to be able to take that off. That in your mind. You're going to take that off. You're going to be fine. So you get your training. You start moving forward. You get the cane training. You start using that every day. You get your software training. What is it that you're working on now?
Just moving to San Antonio, as you mentioned. Yeah, I got the software training through you at the Lighthouse for the Blind, and mobility training. That's kind of where it all started. And from there, I was introduced to goalball, and I was initially looking for beep baseball. It was like the first sport that I heard about, but we didn't have that then. But obviously now we have the San Antonio Jets.
That's right, your teammates.
Jet life, yep. The number 16 for the Jets.
Number 23.
Number 23. That's me. And I love that, man. I love that camaraderie. But yeah, the plan was set to go to school. So I started the process of attending San Antonio College, and I graduated and earned my associates in social work. And since then, I've continued my journey here in Cincinnati, Ohio. My wife and I moved up here. She did a residency program. Ironically, she's actually an optometrist, and people always often ask if that's how we met, but we met prior to that. But the kind of cool part is that she was in school for about a month, and then I was diagnosed, and that's kind of like the pretty cool irony in that. And nevertheless, she finished her optometry program here in Cincinnati, and I'm continuing to work towards my my bachelor's at the University of Cincinnati in social work and a minor in psychology. The plan after that is graduate school, and I'm not 100% set on the population I want to work with, but I believe that I've narrowed it down to two, either working clinical social work with athletes in like, you know, either collegiate or high school or professional level, whichever opportunity comes, or working with youth homelessness. Those are kind of in different ballparks, but
Right.
you know, I interned at a site here in Cincinnati, and you know, it's a tough and
Yeah.
vulnerable and you know, population that you know could definitely use some help, and
Right.
I really learned a lot from it.
That's awesome. So you still got a little ways to go in school, right?
I graduate this May, and
Okay.
then
Then you go into the
the
program.
plan is, then I go into the program in fall of 2020,
So
and that'll actually be in Florida. We're moving again.
how were you as a kid? So you mentioned Little League. What else did you like to do?
Oh man, childhood. So much.
You're not that
Getting
old, man.
into-
Don't make it sound like
No.
it's.
Oh no! I'm not stressing the age, man. I mean, I'm fortunate to make it to the age that I am, 29. You know, and I'm just thinking like I had a very enjoyable childhood. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, everything from the Little League baseball that I started out, you know, playing t-ball all the way through high school, and you know, soccer when baseball wasn't going on,
Uh-huh.
pickup football or tennis. I mean, pickup basketball. You know, just running around playing tag when I was, you know, in the neighborhood with all the friends, flashlight tag. I mean, just so much, and you know,
Yeah.
going to summer camps, just you know, family time. Of course, that was, you know, that means a lot. I care deeply about my family, and you know, grew a close relationship with all of them through the years. My cousin and I are 3 months apart, so 4, excuse me.
The reason I asked that because you were really into sports. Did you play any sports like in school?
Unfortunately, I didn't. As passionate as I was about it, I guess I just lacked the confidence. You know, I think honestly is.
I would have never
Hard
thought
to
that. Knowing you now and when I met you, I never thought you always seemed like a confident guy to me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it was just a lack of confidence, or maybe just I wasn't really pushed to do that, you know, to try out. And between those two variables, I didn't try out until my senior year of high school for baseball. And the coach, you know, I ended up making the team. The coach was like, "Where the heck were you these last 4 years?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
And
so when we met, you were asking about different sports for the blind, because all we had at that time was goalball, and you were just super athletic. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, this guy must have been playing throughout high school and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm fortunate to have the gift of being pretty well rounded, like athletically. I'm not really sure why I received that gift or who I got it from, because you know, I guess my mom and dad and grandparents somewhere down, you know, they did it somewhere, but never really dove into asking them that.
Do you think that playing sports, the adapted sports, be baseball, goalball, do you think that helped in any way to help you emerge in the culture, and also kind of just continue for the acceptance of the blindness, or in dealing with that in any way?
Oh, 100%, man. I'm just such a huge advocate for sports all across the board, and especially when you're experiencing something that can be, you know, traumatic and difficult to transition through, or just find a sport that's accessible for you to do. With goalball, being the first sport that I played, I met you, and Michael was coming out to the practices, and I met Rachel, Coach Rachel at the time, and her husband Michael, and we still had that relationship.
Yeah.
And others throughout. It's just building that community really helped, and there's so much that can be of value. Just gain so many different skills, understanding everything from literally communication to the athleticism that can come with it. You can reach different goals that you want to set. In goalball, scoring your first goal, or just consistently blocking the ball. It's just going to boost your confidence so much. Or
Right.
Anything like that is just it's just confidence boosters. And then also just having that time on one day of the week from whatever time it is to go in and compete and teach and grow from each other is just, it's just so valuable. You can't really,
Right.
I stress it, and I hope that anybody that's able to do so, to find something, whether it's goalball or beat baseball or track and field, or just getting up and moving yourself. It's important for all of us to have that physical.
Yeah. It's important for the mind.
Exercise in our lives. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's good, and that leads to the mental side of your health too. It's extremely important.
Right. So you have this page called Through Ricky's Eyes.
Yeah, they can find me on Facebook. Through Ricky's Eyes is the page, and then just my initial name on there is just Ricky Ruzicka. I'm also on Twitter and also on Instagram as well.
What's the page Through Ricky's Eyes? What is that about?
Through Ricky's Eyes was created by my sisters and Amy, actually, to really set up just like a page, the platform for some fundraising initially, because we didn't really know anything about the funding, behind the devices, or paying bills after employment, going from that transition of employment to collecting, receiving Social Security.
Right.
And, just that financial gap, is so important. And I can't thank everyone enough for, the donations that were initially given. You can't really put, that type of gratitude in the words, but that's all I can really say is that I'm extremely thankful for it. And from that, my sisters and I use that as a platform just for sharing different articles, of encouragement or positivity, and certain achievements that I did, such as just my first goalball tournament, for example, or beat baseball, anything like that. It's just kind of like a platform to show life through my perspective of going, experiencing the vision loss.
Right. Cool. Well, is there any advice that you would give somebody who's going through sight loss? Is there anything that you would tell them to help them take that next step?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. I guess I would start out by letting that individual know that it gets better when you ask and receive and accept the help and the services that are out there for us. Everything from understanding how to use your cane to being able to independently use technology. I think it's extremely important to get involved in a local NFB chapter, or a sport in your community if there's one there. And reaching out to and looking on social media. There's so many groups on Facebook for support. Just understand that there's possibilities after going through the vision loss. The more we can advocate for services that we need, and find some faith, whatever that is. Your spiritual health is extremely important, and taking care of yourself mentally and physically, and just continue to take care of yourself, and don't let the initial process, try to recognize that in the beginning, and don't let that take you so far down under that you feel like you don't have the confidence to continue through life with the vision loss.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Ricky, for joining us. I know I've learned a lot. Thanks, man, for sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you for having me as a guest, and thank you for this opportunity.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. That was Ricky Ruzicka. You can follow The Blind Beat on Twitter at The Blind Beat, and also share and comment here on the page. We'll be back soon with more stories.